This is the 21st season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Let's say two more major events in professional bass fishing this year. We've got the Toyota Series Championship, last day of practice on Grand Lake. Like I mentioned yesterday, I think they hit it right during that funky time on Grand. I think anything over 15 to 18 a day is maybe going to take that championship there. Toyota Series Championship. And then there's also the Bassmaster Team Series event a little bit later on, which is kind of a subplot. And then the final Bassmaster EQ. The guys are headed there this week. Practice starts next week to figure out who the 10 anglers that are moving on from the EQs in that new format where they did the top 50 in Division 1, the top 50 in Division 2, put them together, zeroed the points, and then the top 10 go to the Bassmaster Elite Series. Yesterday had a really good show with, I think, one of the most underrated guys, Gray Buck. Really good guy, done a lot in the industry, and it's hard to believe it's been 15 years since he started fishing collegiately there, but pretty much fished at every single level possible between MLF, FLW, and BASS. He's in fourth there. So if you're still looking to scratch that itch of watching professional tournament action, a couple big events left on the calendar. And then next week on the 11th, we kick off CTL, Crappie Talk Live, a passion project with Zeke Anderson, where we basically spend the next 16 weeks. We'll have videos from the water. I actually figured out how to record live scope on the screen, which was a lot simpler than I thought it was for a guy who does a podcast. You think I'd have had that dialed in before, but we're going to be on the water. Basically, if you are a bass guy and you have already killed your buck or doe, or your hunting season is over, or you're not a big hunter and you want to learn how to target these giant crappie with scope, without scope, live bait, on timber, muddy water. Not so much for the ice fishing guys. Follow the Crappie Chronicles if you're an ice fishing guy. They're about to kick off, I think, their 5th or 6th season up there in Minnesota. But if you're a bass guy who wants to get into these giant crappie, 2.5, 3 pound crappie, highly recommend CTL. That kicks off on the 11th, and then the 9th, 10th, and 11th, I also have Jody White of MLF. He is in studio. We're going to go try to put him on a 10-pound largemouth and then do some evening shows, some giveaway shows on that. So last week while I was gone, I had a recorded show. Boyd Duckett came on, talked about all the changes that were going on with MLF, from the BFLs all the way up to the BPTs. Boy, lots of acronyms today. Last month before that, had Chase Anderson on from BASS that talked about all the changes that they had. So I thought it was only right, and a real testament to the organization itself, that that you got to include them in the big three now. They're a half decade in. They just concluded their 5th year. They're coming into their 6th season of competition, and that is the National Professional Fishing League, NPFL as we know it. Professionally, they have to be known as the TNPFL. We'll ask Brad about that. Brad Fuller, president of the National Professional Fishing League. Thank you for getting out of the deer stand this morning and into the studio to talk a little bass fishing.
Yeah, man. My wife said, you won't do anything for me, but you're going to come out of the stand and do a podcast with Matt. And I said, absolutely. It's deer season, man. It's the rut. So yeah, glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And like I said, I wanted to get the big three on in BTL. We try to provide a platform for organizations, for anglers to come on, to talk, to answer questions, to let the listeners, the viewers, I think, I'm proud to say, I think we have one of the most educated listener bases in the sport, which, Brad, I think, would you agree with me that when it comes down to the hardcore guys, the guys that follow the MLF, the Bassmaster, the Open Series, the NPFL, that kind of know about it, I think it's a smaller group of hardcore anglers than a lot of people realize, that actually kind of live and follow the goings on of a daily basis?
So I agree. I think I think it's even smaller than what we even imagine. And so we moved everything to YouTube this year, and we run the chat, and in studio or in production, myself, we're kind of in there just kind of moderating, interacting with the chat. And it's funny, you see the same exact guys in there week after week, and it's probably about 50 different guys who are just hardcore in the chat just for all 5 hours, man. But it's a small group of those really hardcore guys. Like, if I had to put a number on it, a few thousand. You know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things, that's a pretty small number. That's what I mean. And maybe that's a little inflated, Matt.
I think it's a little low. I think there's about 10,000 people that casually follow it. Maybe 5 to 8,000 that are in everything, that understand everything, that are following it, that are watching it, which, someone told me once, they said, you can look at that number and you can say, 8 to 10,000 is just not that many compared, you look at like a Joe Rogan podcast, or you look at what an NFL stadium does, but you put 5,000-6,000 people together in one spot and that's a lot of people, Brad. That is a lot of people, a target audience, a lot of those listeners on here that are buying the products, that are sustaining the industry, that are putting food on the family for their favorite anglers. And I think it's cool in this sport is it's one of the few where it's a very interactive relationship between the fan and the competitor. I don't think in any other major sport there's that much interaction between the top level elite and the everyday fan.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it has to do with just the sport in general, right, Matt? Like, the average guy can have a 16-foot John boat or 14-foot John boat, have the same basic setup, rod, reel, line, baits that the top tier guys have, and go out and it's different than like golf. Like, I'm a huge golfer. I play 2 or 3 days a week when I can. Like, it's really, really hard, but you can go out there as an angler and mimic what the guys are doing on live, and you got a shot to perform. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm headed out to the golf course after this, Brad. I enjoy it, but there's no way that you can compare yourself. There's no way that in 365 days I go out with the scratch golfer, I have a 0% chance of beating him. I am 0 for 365 with the scratch golfer. You can go out against Jacob Wheeler or Patrick Walters or something and fish against him 10 times. There's thousands of guys that will get the better of them 1 or 2 times out of those 10. Yep. It's an interesting dynamic.
So I think what we're really talking about is relatability, right? Like how the fans relate to the guys at the top tier. Now, I will say this. In 5 years, man, I've been blown away. And like, it's deer season. Like, I'm all rutted up myself. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that time of year. But dude, when you see like I had my biggest buck on the farm yesterday at 43 yards. And when you see one in the wild, they just move different. They act different. And I say the same thing. It hit me the hardest when we were at Amistad for our first championship. And I actually got relegated to go out and do some camera work down there. And I was on Patrick Walters. And he's like that. He moves different. You know what I mean? Like, and all the guys at the top tier are different. And the thing that's made me realize you can see an angler coming into their own when they start the way they move and operate on the water. And one comes to mind, Timmy Reams has been with us since day one. And I wish I had like really good video of him 5 years ago than watch video of him now. He's just evolved as an angler. And I think he's matured as an angler. And Brandon Perkins is another one, right? Like he just moves a little different now than probably what he did 5 years ago when we started this thing. So there's something to be said for that as well.
All right, let's start at the beginning of this thing. Half a decade in, heading into the 6th season, press release came out in October of 2019 that there's a lot of movement back then. For those that don't remember, FLW had just been bought by MLF. That was the final year of the mass exodus of the Elite Series with a major shakeup where 60% of the anglers opted to go to the Bass Pro Tour. There were major format changes that went to every fish counts and catch, weigh, release. The Elite Series then brought over a bunch of anglers from the FLW tour to fill up that field. The Opens were in a little bit of a flux. And in October 2019, there's a press release from a group of guys that where a lot of people were familiar with in the industry, but a lot of people were like, wait, they're doing what, when, now? And it was the announcement that in 2021, this new league, the National Professional Fishing League, which was now like, did you guys really have an issue with the Nigerian Professional Football League, or is that all rumors on that?
Yeah, no, I've never, no issue to date.
Okay.
I always caveat those things, but yeah, no issues there whatsoever.
Okay, so you start this thing. Take it back now. If as of what are we? November 4th, 2025 at 8:43 a.m. Central Time. If you could tell yourself now one thing in October of 2019 when that press release came out, what would it be?
Ooh, and that's a good question. Run, maybe. That wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be. I don't know, man. I think, listen, we've had to evolve. And I think if I could go back and give myself one piece of advice and tell myself one thing is just be steady. Like, just try to be, and I think this is something I work on every day. Just try to be more even keeled, which I struggle with anyway. High, low, low. You know what I mean? Like just in life in general. Take care of your mental state and take care of you and the people that are really close to you, and everything else will work out. And I think we've done that to a really strong degree, but I think there's things we could have done better. And I think the other thing is nobody cares what you've done until you've already done it. And that would have probably maybe changed the way we approached things in the early years. I mean, dude, I think back as you were sitting there talking, I'm like, man, we had 11 cameras on the water in year one. 11. That was literally overkill to an nth degree, right? Like we couldn't even use 10 cameras worth of footage in a day. You could, like, there were days when we may not have shown every single angler in a 10 camera set. So I just think there's things that I would like to go back and give myself some advice on and the company about how we kind of started and then how it's kind of all evolved.
Here's kind of how I want to set this up, Brad, because there's a lot of history that I think is applicable to what is currently happening in the landscape of professional fishing, the Npfl, what you guys have just announced, some of the kind of words from the president and some of the articles that you've just written. So I want to let's start out with currently today, and then I want to kind of loop that back to that first field of 2021.
Yep.
Registration, applications for the 2026 field closed yesterday?
Yeah, the 31st.
The 31st of October on Halloween. And you go back to that 2021, that inaugural season, the first season, and look at it, and the composition of the field from 2025 and with some of the announcements, what it's going to be in 2026 with some of those anglers is drastically different than it was 5 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Kind of talk about the evolution of who makes up the Npfl field. That seems to be one of the hot topics right now.
Yeah, it is. And listen, man, I would start here and say, and this is probably a little embarrassing on our part, like I don't think we really had a solid game plan for how this thing was going to evolve. Because, when you're in survival mode for the first couple of years, it's like, man, you're trying to shoot all the 5-meter targets. Those are going to kill me first. And you never really get a chance to kind of look out, 2-3 years down the road. But I think in the beginning years, when we were first starting, one of the major questions was there another 125 guys at that point that wanted or had the ability to spend $5,000, $5,200 on an entry fee and be able to have a little bit of longevity with a league like this doing what we're doing. And that caused a lot of issues. So I hesitate to say this a little bit, Matt, but this is just reality is, man, the fiscal viability of a lot of those anglers was not very strong, right? Like it caused a lot of issues where I think in year one, and I had to go back and look, I didn't look. I think we started with 124, 123, maybe 121, something like that. And I think we finished with like 108.
106.
Yeah. So I was close. So you know what I mean? So that causes a lot of issues enter your organization, specifically with the field, because look at from 6 to 21, 15 anglers at $31,000 a piece. Like start doing the math on that, right? Like that's revenue that has to come from somewhere. And that really hasn't, the number has dwindled on how many we lose. We had some bona fide, like realistic issues with some anglers this year that had some medical issues. So I think we lost 4 or 5 to medical, and then we lost 6 or 7. We lost 2 guys after the first 2 events. That's so, take their 4 remaining events, multiply that times 2. I mean, you're still talking about a significant amount of money of revenue you're missing, and that comes out of the payouts. So fiscal viability of the early fields was volatile. Let's just say that. And look, man, I every year I've kind of tweaked my speech I give the anglers when I have conversations with them about coming in the league, and this year was no different. We kind of emphasize the things that we think makes us a stronger company and a stronger league and creates that bond with the anglers. And it's evolved every year. And this year, a major contention point was fiscal viability, right? Like, hey, man, like if you're planning on fishing 1 or 2 and cashing a couple checks and having that carry you on, don't let a dream of being a professional angler turn into a nightmare, because that's exactly what's going to happen.
And in full disclosure, we've seen that on the FLW tour. We've seen that on the invitationals. We've seen that on the Elite Series too. If you actually go back and look, and they're lost to history because kind of out of sight, out of mind, especially in today's social media age and news cycle age. But it's not just the Npfl that is like that. There are anglers that are, hey, I got these tournaments, and if I don't cash a check here, I'm gone. And you kind of alluded to this in your most recent article that you published. The foundation of those organizations in the MLF and Bass there is a lot broader, based on 50, 60 years of history and the way that it works, to handle that when you lose those entry fees for the remainder of the year than there is at the Npfl.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there's nothing propping us up. We're a one-trick pony right now, right? Like we've got one show. We do it 7 times a year, and that has to carry us through. And I think the biggest thing for me, Matt, is like every angler that was in the field this year was given an opportunity to come back, right? So we put it out there and said, hey guys, like we're done with the year. We wrapped up the last event. Here's your deadline to notify the Npfl if you're coming back. We didn't deny anybody entry into the field this year, and we have historically ran about a 30% attrition rate. So we turn over about 30% of our field a year. So we went out and started finding anglers to fill those 30% that we were pretty sure we were going to have. And it actually came to fruition where it was just about exactly 30% on the field this year. And look, man, there's like you alluded to, there's a lot of moving and shaking. There's a lot of changing. And I just think that's the norm. Everybody's like, oh, I can't wait to get back to normal. I think we're living in normal, and people just need to realize that. And the biggest benefit we have is we're extremely agile, right? Like it's just because we only have the one-trick pony, we can kind of stay flexible. And the number one thing we need to work on here, Matt, is payouts, right? Like, and that you're not going to angler revenue your way to prosperity with payouts. That's going to come from sponsorships and having other lines of revenue within your company that where those entry fees aren't running the entire thing and trying to pay the English. It's never going to work. So listen, I am probably more excited about 2026 with the field of anglers we have than I ever have been. And immediately people say, oh, it's all the elite guys or all the BPT guys. No, man, of course, I'm excited about having, Russ Lane and Greg Vincent and Andy Morgan. But there's some guys I mentioned in that article that are ready to go to work. And I think us being a league of opportunity, I always want to have a place to give the Garrett Smiths and the Grant Best and those guys. I want to always have a place for those guys to have an opportunity to go chase their dream. And I'm excited about seeing how those guys perform against a very, very, the hardest competition level of Npfl we've ever had. That should be exciting to the fans as well.
It seems like I'd be interested in your thoughts on your target angler. You talked a little bit about that, but I want to go back to that October 2019. And, this was a Wire to Fish article. Described the Npfl. It was a lucrative endeavor for those professionals who also hold down full-time jobs. The other key elements of that were anglers are encouraged to fish other circuits, and to the max extent possible, the schedule will not conflict with the Bassmaster Opens. Then if you look at that first year, 2021, I don't think the Npfl gets enough credit for the anglers that they developed through that first year that a lot of us had never heard of before that. So the top 10 in the Angler of the Year in 2021 was Keith Carson, Brandon Perkins, Bryant Smith, John Sokup, Taylor Watkins, Joel Willert, Timmy Reams, David Gaston, Derek Blake, and Greg Mansfield. So out of the top 10, 4 of those anglers, you have BPT angler and 3 Elite Series anglers, a US Open champion, multiple winners on it. Those were none of those were household names, were on major circuits at the time. And you look at it 4 years later at the careers that they launched or the careers that they sustained. You look at like a Brandon Perkins or Taylor Watkins in there who aren't on the Elite Series or a BPT, but still, an incredible amount of money in careers that they've won. But, you've got Keith Carson, you've got Brian Smith, Sokup, who was on the Elite Series for a couple years, David Gasson, who's on it. Like, that was a pretty incredible feat in the first year to take those anglers who did not have a platform and then say, look at the talent level and what they were able to achieve using the Npfl kind of as that springboard to launch their careers.
Yeah, man. I think it was Mark back then that had us on, or maybe I did an interview with Mark. I don't remember, but one of the things that we had to be able to prove to ourselves we could do was we had to be able to nationally brand an angler. Can we take a regionally successful guy and brand him on a very on a national level? I think probably Sokup was the first one we really did that with. I mean, of course, John was really, really good. Won a ton of events with us while he was here with us. John went on and fished the elites for a few years. We just seen John, like he was back at the championship on Hartwell a few weeks or months ago. So yeah, man, it was, and I keep going back to this because, dude, listen, let's just call it what it is. Like, there's some venom and some poisonous kind of attitudes, if you will, flying around about how many current touring professionals we have in the field this year. But I would argue that if a Grant Vest, if a Garrett Smith, if a Paul Hodges, if any of those guys can perform, if they can go out and catch them, their path to notoriety is much, much more expedient because of the people that they're beating and the people they have around them. I think the branding around that and the marketing around that is easier because of a lot of the notoriety we have in the field for 2026.
Where's that coming from, Brad? You mentioned the venom, you mentioned the price. Is that coming from other anglers on the Npfl? Is that coming from fans? Like, where is the kind of controversy, the genesis of that controversy with the makeup of the field having a lot of big names in it now?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Matt. I think it's probably a little bit of all those. And listen, man, like you've been in this game for a long time. Like people don't need a reason to be pissed off, right? So let's start there. But I think, look, man, anytime you change and evolve, and you know, we've been a little steadier than we started out being. You know, we were kind of chasing it there in the first few years, changing a lot of stuff year to year, changing rules, changing format, blah blah blah, and we just tried to mellow out and just kind of let things run its course and adjust when we need to. Taking one little bite of the elephant at a time, you know, to get it all down. And look, man, I'll be honest, there were some anglers who were not happy and they chose not to come back because they didn't feel like this was the Npfl they signed up for 3 years ago. And I agree with them. It's not. And at the end of the day, this is a performance-based industry, right? Like you've got to go out and catch them. If you know, I tell the anglers when we joke about it that, man, I don't care if your dog's mad at you, if you got a flat tire on your truck or whatever's going on in your life, not one of those problems that catching more fish won't fix. And like your job is to go catch them. Our job, and I give this speech as well about being very clear about what the Npfl owes you in return for your $5,200. And I go into that in depth with each and every angler. So yeah, man, I think it comes from, you know, the fans a little bit. I think it definitely come from some anglers who felt like we had departed from where we started. And we have 100%. I agree with that. And I think it was out of necessity. But yeah, I think all the above, Matt.
I find one of the things interesting, and you mentioned, and this is kind of the change there. And I guess this kind of comment leads up to a question, but you know, anglers are encouraged to fish other circuits, max extent possible. It will not conflict with the Bass Opens. That's obviously been a change there where if you look at the schedule now, it does conflict with a third of the Bass Opens this year. It does not conflict with the Elite Series, which obviously you said in your last article, business decision to make up with it. But one of the interesting quotes in your October 22nd article, which commend you for kind of it. They're like the fireside chats back in the day where you just kind of get on and say, hey, here's what's up. Here's what's on my mind. You address issues that are going on. And it's titled Here to Thrive, Not Survive. But there's a line in here that says, we're fighting against two massive organizations with decades of history and deep pockets. Keyword there, we're fighting. So it sounds like, and this, I've had these conversations when the BPT in the Elite Series, and you had the BPT that was, hey, you know, hey, we're here to work with everybody. Their big saying back in the day was a rising tide floats all ships. I don't care if I ever hear that damn saying again in my entire life. But this is, to me, and I'd like to get your opinion. I don't want to put words in your mouth there, but the words we're fighting against two massive organizations with decades of history and deep pockets is you are now competing in an arena against Bass, against MLF. It is no longer, hey, here is a third organization or an option. You want to be in that arena. You want to be on that fight card and not watching the fight. Is that walk me through that?
Yeah, I think, and listen, what this really comes down to, Matt, is I wouldn't put the anglers in that category. Anglers, it's funny, man. There's a few things that go on in this business that really drive me freaking batshit crazy. Sorry for but
that's fair.
One is this premise that we own anglers, or the premise that we dictate what an angler can or can't do outside the tournament organization, the rules and the competition and all that stuff. Like we don't believe that here. Each angler should, I tell the guys all the time, like, I want you to do what's best for you and your family. And all those guys you mentioned before, Keith Carson, Bryant Schmidt, like those guys, when they're doing well, I hope I'm one of the first guys they get a text from that says, hey man, I hope you close this deal up, like go finish it. You know what I mean? Like we're big fans of those guys, and it has nothing to do with them not being at the Npfl anymore. You know what I mean? So one, I don't really put anglers into that category. What I am talking about is viewership and sponsorships. Those two things right there are directly tied to the overall health, well-being, and trajectory of the business. There's no way to skin that cat without coming out and seeing that, in my opinion. So yeah, you've seen a few little things go on in this year where as we grow our brand and as we market and we expand our reach and our sphere of influence within professional bass fishing, the sponsors are paying us more money because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that is the business model. So if we want better payouts and we want more anglers' money to stay in the anglers' pockets, we have to grow the business to be in a very net positive revenue stream where we can pay for everything we have to pay for, and we can take some of that money and put on the payouts. Like, I tell guys, like, man, I believe if, like a stretch goal, right? Something that I'm not real sure we can achieve, but I really want this to happen. So therefore, when I make decisions, it's kind of in the back of my mind. If we could have the best payouts in bass fishing, which is like, we're so far from that right now, we would be a serious problem for everybody, right? I feel like we have a really good tournament organization. I feel like we're logistically sound. I feel like we run our business and interact with our anglers in a way that they enjoy and they respect. And we put the work in, man. Like, and I'm not saying that I know Bass works hard. I know MLF works hard. I know Kathy and Daniel and everybody over there, Mark McGraw, Kevin Hunt, those all the guys, they work really hard. We're really good at working hard. You know what I mean? Like, we'll get our hands dirty and our knuckles bloody, like whatever we need to do to drag around and make sure that every angler feels like when they spend money with us, they're getting their value, whether they catch them or not. And that goes to accessibility, that goes to how viable we are, and giving them a platform they feel like they have an opportunity to succeed. And that is like, from the fighting side and competition side, we're fighting for sponsorship, we're fighting for viewership, and we've got a very, very long way to go, man. We're not even close to where we need to be for this to be a really good business. I think it's a great tournament trail. We've got a long way to go to make this a really good business.
One of the words that's thrown around, it's funny, you said positivity in here. One of the words that's thrown around a lot in this game is professional. I could have 9 people on this show right here, and all 9 could be accomplished who make their living somewhat in fishing, and they would all have a different definition of what a professional angler is. The thing with the NPFL is you do not have a qualifying process. There is no Toyota Series, Invitationals, BPT. There is no Opens, Elite Series. But I think you've done a very good job, at least in my opinion, of kind of being grouped into the professional fishing category. As the president, as the owner, what makes the NPFL a professional tournament trail and not just a really expensive jackpot with 100 talented anglers?
Yeah, I think one of the things is, I've given this some thought, Matt. So it's a couple pronged answer. One is like the fact that we lock our field. So there's no jackpotting inside the year, right? Like we're going to cut this thing off. I hope to have the field rounded out and finished. We're at 125 right now. I think I've got 10 or 12 guys that are, mulling it over, and I don't know where we're going to end up, but I think we got a good shot to get to 130, which will be the first time we've ever filled a field to capacity on the number that we put out there. So that's a really big deal, man, and a milestone. So what makes the National Pro Fishing League a professional organization? I think it's how we conduct ourselves, from the aspect of how we interact with sponsors, how we interact with the anglers, and the anglers bringing their professionalism to the league is really important. I think like on the bottom of our slides at every meeting, whether it's a Zoom meeting or recorded or we do it in person, it's prove legitimacy and establish longevity, right? In some ways, we've done everything counter to that in certain situations, right? Like we've made mistakes and had to go back and kind of fix things and readjust and kind of recage our sights on what we're really trying to do here. And the fact that we were able to do that, I think, speaks volumes to the company itself. But man, I'll be honest, I really don't. I don't even know what that means to some degree. You know what I mean? Like people get really wrapped up in, are you a professional or not? Well, what's it matter? You know what I mean? Like,
does that matter to the sponsors? Does that matter to the people, the people that you're trying to cater to spend their sponsorship dollars, X company, Y company, Z company, that they want to sponsor something that is a are those the people that matters? Is it a title?
I'll be honest, man. Every sponsor is so different, and that's been a really big learning curve for me. Some sponsors could care less what the viewership is, right? They've never asked for numbers, and I'm talking big sponsors. Like I've been shocked that they care more about the brand association and the trajectory of the NPFL and wanting to tie their brand to our brand and have it seen in that light of, hey man, we're with a company that has a very positive trajectory going, and some would argue that is the only true company now that's really on a growth model, right? Like, and that's very important. And one of my little catchy sales pitches is it's not whether you want to be here now and be supporting the NPFL, but can you stand to not be here in year 2, 3, 4, 5 down the road, right? And that's. I just talked to one yesterday and had a great meeting, and they're like, man, we just love what you guys are doing. We love the way you carry yourself. We like the way, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So it's more over that. But I don't know. I don't really feel like I answered your question, Matt, because I don't get too wrapped up in, are you a professional or not? Like, okay. So if a guy, and I keep using his name because I just think he's a cool kid. He's a good young man, and I think he's going to do great things in the Npfl. Grant Vest out of Virginia,
and to get him on the show.
He goes out and wins the first event. Now is he a professional?
Yeah, there's 9 guys with 9 different answers.
100%. So I don't know. I don't think I did a good job answering your question.
No, you did. You did there.
Go ahead.
I'll pivot then. So last year, biggest news out of the gates. You make the decision, no forward-facing technology in NPFL competition. It's very interesting if you go back and you did I love these kind of articles because you can go back and you can look at what you said. So February 10th, 2025, and there's a part in here where you're like, might work, might not, might kill it, might be the greatest thing ever, might vault the NPFL, might have to change it the next year. In a roundabout way is what you said in it. But you took that stand, and you said you took that stand because you're not anti-technology, but because you believe in preserving the essence of competition. English win based on skill decision-making. Long story short, that seemed to drive or was a deciding factor between 8 to 12 log standing elite series and BPT anglers, to where 14 of your top 20 and 9 of your top 10 in the Angler of the Year in 2025 were elite series pros. A year and a half later, in hindsight, that looks like a really smart move at a really tough time that you took a lot of praise for and a lot of flack for. But it seems like it was the right move at the time, Brad, and has kind of paid to fruition. Talk me through that decision and kind of where it stands now in the landscape.
Yeah, man, I lost a lot of sleep over that. You know what I mean? Because I knew we were basically rolling the dice with all the work we had done before. So I was concerned about pissing it away. You know what I mean? To be honest with you. But man, listen, this goes back to sitting in production, watching the live stream, and just not really enjoying it for myself, right? Like, and look, man, we tried everything. We tried to put the video of the live scope on the screen, and we really tried to make it more engaging to the fans. And as that technology evolved and the techniques evolved for how that is being utilized now, dominant, dude. Like, I mean, hey, we're going to a shallow water bed fishing event. Doesn't matter. Live scope's going to play, right? Like, it's just the way it worked out. And it hit home for me what we had been able to accomplish when Hackney won on Norman last year, right? And not because it was Greg Hackney, because it was an angler standing on the front of his boat, knowing what the fish were going to do before they did it. He was tuned into what you want to see a winner be tuned into with relation to how the fish were acting and what they were doing. And I go back to those early decisions, like I remember sitting in the house at the kitchen table by myself and really thinking about it, Matt, going, when's the last time we had an angler stand on the front of his boat and really toil over a mental decision he had to make? Changing baits, changing the spinner bait blade combination, changing locations, going to the bank, fishing laydowns, fishing deep brush. That was kind of taken away from us. And for everything that Swindle says, like he said something a few months ago that really stuck with me, and it kind of put it in perspective. In his words, he said, what we lost was the surprise of discovery. Anyone who tournament fishes or fishes for that matter has been on the water, and you start to put it together, right? Like you're like, okay, now I know what the fish are doing. You're getting in tune with what the fish are doing, and you can basically call your shot. That to me is the coup de grace in bass fishing, right? That's the when you're on them and you figure it out and you know where they're going to be before they get there. That's what we were searching for. And man, we just hit, for all the bull crap we put up with in the schedule for the past few years, bro, we really hit last year absolutely dead nuts perfect. Even Npfl, that was 9, 10, 11 foot high, it was a really cool tournament. And Douglas was a really cool tournament, like up in the bushes flipping. Guys, anytime you got guys diving in bushes to get fish out, like I'm down for that. So it was cool. To make a long answer longer, yes, man, I do believe that for the Npfl and our situation and all the things that were surrounding us, it turns out that it was a good decision. And I'm very happy we made it.
Business decision, obviously. You wanted more numbers. You wanted eyeballs on it. You wanted the people that didn't want to watch a scope to go over to the Npfl to watch that, so you can have streaming numbers, so you can have page views, so you can have clicks, so you can go to the sponsors to say this, and they give you more money as a business decision. Obviously, you had showed a little bit of personal element. Did it translate? Were you able to look at events in 2025 and see a spike in your numbers that you were then able to tangibly take to sponsors and say, look, this is working, as opposed to 24, 23, 22, and 21?
So yeah. And after every event, like event one, I did a event one to last year comparison. I send that out to the sponsors after event. After event two, I compare event one to event two, and then I send that out to the sponsors. To say the growth is unbelievable. Like, and look, man, we're not bigger than soccer. Like, I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is for the Npfl, our numbers were drastically better. Now, I was talking to Dakota Ebar and some guys. I was at the Ultimate Angler Championship.
Ultimate Angler Championship there on Gunnersville, where they got about $7 million.
Really cool event. You'll see a guy standing on stage holding a $500,000 check, surrounded by guys holding, over $1 million in checks around. Yeah. Was pretty cool. But anyway, I don't think that's all forward-facing sonar. I think us changing the platform from our previous platform to going to YouTube full time.
Oh, smart. Why don't the other ones do it? Do they not value those views on YouTube as much as they do on their website? Or I've not understood that.
To be honest, I mean, look, man, here's the secret sauce. Our YouTube feed and the feed on our website's the same. It's the same feed,
yeah.
Right?
That's why I don't understand why the other organizations don't put everything on YouTube in today's day and age.
I would have to think, Matt, like, listen, I don't watch regular TV. Like, everything is Netflix, Hulu, Prime, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know if that's a parochial mindset, and we don't have a TV deal either. So I don't know if there's something contractually in the TV deals that say, how it airs. And I don't know, maybe that's it. We don't have that constraint. But people ask me, are you on TV? I'm like, yep, we're on YouTube TV. You know what I mean? Like, you can go to YouTube, like every other streaming service, and watch everything we're doing. So and I think the other thing, Matt, that increased viewership was the change in platform. Obviously, banning forward-facing sonar, we lost some people because of that.
Yep.
Right. But I think we gained far, far more. And and I don't think sponsors cared, man. Like Hummingbird has been with us since we made that decision. And we've got a great relationship with everybody over there at Johnson Outdoors, with Minn Kota and Hummingbird. We feel like we did a really good job for them this year with their new Explorer unit. That thing's awesome. So sponsors just wanted somebody to make a decision.
Okay, and that was my next question.
Words, not mine, right?
On the electronics questions, I asked this to Chase. I asked this to Boyd. What did you get in the room with Garmin, with Lowrance, with Hummingbird? Were they saying, "Hey, we would like you to keep this. Here's an offer to not do it like this"? Like what was that relationship? You just kind of answered it.
Yeah. We didn't have that constraint. We didn't have a single electronic sponsor, right? So, the closest one we had was Trent down at Sonar Pros. Yep. Advertised with us that year. Obviously Trent was not happy, and I don't like from a bit, like looking at it from Trent's business model. Like, yeah, man, I'm sure I know Trent wanted us to keep it. Trust me, we had these conversations, but in the grand scheme of things, it was the right move at the right time in the right environment for us to gain more of everything last year. Like our viewership, man, like I don't have it in front of me. I want to say it was hundreds of % bigger, hundreds, like 300 to 400 times % what it was in the previous years.
Yeah, which is big considering that there was more hours than ever live streamed between all of the other live stream options out there. I mean, it's not like, you had there was a smaller piece of the pie based on all the hours in yours.
Yeah, and you know what's wild, Matt? Like moving it to YouTube, the residual views, like what we get post live is wild, man. I never anticipated that. Like it's not as many people like watch it live. It's availability. They can pick apart pieces of the stream and go back and watch it. And you probably have lakes that are more tournament heavy, like people going to kind of dig up some information and look at techniques and time of year and all that stuff. But we have our full archive on YouTube, and dude, it's still crazy. Like Saginaw Bay gets a ton of views residual because I think people want to go up there and see how the guys, you know what I mean? So that's been surprising. But man, it was a really, really good year for viewership growth. The magical thing to me is, can we sustain the trajectory? Not just sustain the numbers, but can we keep the path, the trajectory of what we're doing? We're not there yet, but you said it earlier. It's such a small industry. The higher you get in those kind of numbers, the harder it is to take the next step because the pie is getting smaller and smaller. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a very interesting thing. Now, with the field that we're putting out there this year, I think we've got a chance to really do some special things and keep that trajectory going. And when I talk to sponsors, I am trajectory centric. Like, hey man, this is where we're going. This is what we're doing. This is year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I mean? So you got to be selling what you're going to do. Cause man, there's no secrets about what the Npfl is right now. I don't think, right? Like, I think it's pretty clear and obvious that, dude, we tell everybody, man, we're just going bass fishing. We're not putting people on the moon. We're not conducting major to theater operations in a global war on terror overseas. Like, we are simply running a bass tournament. Let's not forget what we're doing, and let's not make this too complicated. And if you're not having fun doing this as an angler, like, you need to seriously reconsider what you're doing, right? Like, we like to have a good time, man. We like to have fun. We like to, get out and cut up and enjoy our time that we get to spend outside. And we really try to make sure the anglers do that as well.
I told you 45 minutes. We're 49 minutes in. I haven't taken a break. You good for one more quick segment?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to take a quick break here. Pay some bills, which we just talked about. That's important to do, Brad.
Yes, it is.
And we'll be back. I want to talk a little bit about when we come back. I want to talk a little bit about the structure. You've added Ken Duke to it. You have Fat Cat and Luke who have been doing it for a long time. And then I also want to get your opinion on the stability of it. I talked to guys who say, yeah, we love it, but it doesn't have the 60 years behind it. What if I make that jump and then it's not there the next year and then I'm out of it? I kind of want to talk with that. Really good conversation. President of the National Professional Fishing League, Brad Fuller, BTL, on a Tuesday. We'll be back right after this.
Before there were hashtags, there were handshakes and shared stories. They gave us confidence to make our first cast. to chase our dreams. They taught us to fish, and in the process, taught us about life. They taught us that success isn't just about reaching the top. It's about lifting others up. The future isn't just about selling tackle. It's about 3 simple words. Let's go fishing. Here's to the original influencers.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Baccarac. Feel the rush.
When I'm in a tournament, conditions are constantly changing and every second matters. With the Deep Dive app, I can instantly pull up all the current lake conditions all in one spot. So no more looking at weird government websites. In just one quick glance, I have water clarity, water level, wave forecast. It's all right there in the Deep Dive app. Download the Deep Dive app and get all the tools you need to put together an awesome tournament.
All right, welcome back. BTL on a Tuesday, talking with the president of the National Professional Fishing League, Brad Fuller. I mentioned a couple names before we went to break. You guys really have you brought on Ken Duke, who's undoubtedly the most knowledgeable asset in the sport of fishing. Did you know Ken really well before you brought him on this year, or did you have a full understanding of Ken Duke's depth of knowledge of the sport, I guess, before you hired him? Was my question.
No, I did. So Ken, actually, I think it was year 1, Matt. Ken came over and sat with me in the trailer when we were down there in Florida for probably 2 hours and just talked about him. And we probably disagreed more than we agreed in that conversation. And, Ken's always been very helpful and very insightful. He's like, hey, if you never anything, just give me a call. And yeah, man, when it kind of hit me one day, I was like, when Ken left Fishing Tackle Retailer,
yep.
And then was kind of just floating out there. He knows Paul Benson really well. Okay. So that's how I met Ken. Ken and I interacted quite a bit, and it just hit me. I was like, man, this is the guy we need to kind of take over communications and make sure we're doing things right and helping me. Ken does a lot more than just write articles for the website. Like, I really lean on him to be an industry insider and to help me on decisions about sponsors and where we are and how we articulate our desire to do business with them and what we think we can do for said dollar. Right. So, and listen, our website numbers, I think, and listen, man, I always hesitate to throw numbers out because someone's going to say, well, that's not like, these are just, we have 483,000 unique users on our website this year. Doesn't sound like a lot. That's a massive number to the Npfl. That's a massive number. And we are in this comparison mindset. Well, what's Bass do? What's MLF do? Hey, man, as long as my sponsors are happy with it and we're growing the business, let's go back when we've been around for 50 years and see where we are and compare 50 to 50. But I don't have a desire to get into that mindset because someone said, well, man, I was like, guys, you got to understand, when we've been around for 50 years, Bass will be on their 100th year anniversary. You know what I mean? So we're chasing the same prey within the industry, but to say you're competing with Bass it just sounds weird to me, right? It's like getting in the ring with Mike Tyson. Mm-hmm. Did you fight Mike Tyson? Yeah. What happened? Well, let's not worry about that. Let's just worry about I fought Mike Tyson. You're not going to win that battle. You know what I mean? So it's more about what we're doing and how we see ourselves in the industry.
Yeah. As far as the surrounding program, you have tried a number of different things over the past years with roundtables, pregame stuff, all of that. Is that one of the most challenging aspects, is how to allocate resources to the surrounding media around the tournament to make it beneficial and worthwhile while still draw the numbers? Because I just know, I've sat in a lot of different seats for a lot of organizations on the media side, and that always seems like the tricky aspect of how many dollars do we spend here? How much value is it? How much do we put back to the anglers? How much do we focus on the studio stuff? That seems like it's just a hard dynamic to find a great equilibrium in.
Man, I would say it's a major struggle, right? Like it's very, and again, because we've never done any of this crap before, right? Like it's a lot of experimentation. I think you'll see a format change in the roundtables again for next year. I'll be honest, the anglers love them, the sponsors love them, the cities love them. But to be honest, the level of effort it takes to pull those off on 3 nights in a row, I don't know that we're really getting the juice is worth the squeeze there for us.
I look back and see what it takes and all it takes and all that, and I'm like, man, that's a lot of work. Yeah,
for the viewership it's getting now, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be trying, right? That doesn't mean that we should just, trust me, I've wanted to, like, okay, we're not doing these anymore. Like, it's just not worth it. I think the premise is there, Matt, to do something in that regard, and I just think we need to keep searching for. And the good thing is, you know it when you get it, right? Like, so it doesn't mean we're going to stop doing it. The outreach stuff on the Wednesdays, the cities absolutely love that. We get some great content out of it. We give anglers another opportunity to be out in the public eye to promote their sponsors and do something goodwill wise in the communities where we are. So, yeah, man, it's the peripheral assets and the properties we have outside of the tournament series is, let's just say that's a point of emphasis. And we've got a few things working for next year that I hope we're going to release in January. Not to give that whole teaser thing, but it's what people have been asking for. It's not a feeder system. I'll just tell you that. Like, a feeder system is a long burn item. So I had anglers asking me yesterday about, hey, are you going to have a feeder? I'm like, well, if we were having a feeder for 27, it would have to run in 26, and we're running 7 tournaments next year. That's it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's super hard, man, to figure that balance out.
I'm going to talk to you as an angler for a second here, Brad. If there's one thing that you absolutely nailed that has been a massive source of contention for the last 20 years in bass fishing, that to me is the easiest problem to nip in the bud, it is the no information rule. I have said this for years. There's 3 main components to this. You cannot hire a guide. That's easy. You cannot hire a guide on the lake to show you around the lake. You cannot barter or purchase information. And a 30-day off limits for a high-level tournament still allows you to fish on it, to talk to people about it. If you guide on it, to make a living doing that, and it puts everything on a level playing field. It is incredibly simple. It is incredibly easy. It is black and white, and it blows my mind that this is not the tournament standard across all organizations and hasn't been for 20 years. The fact that this was novel and groundbreaking in that press release where you said, here's the new standard, plain and simple. I literally chuckled when I read that, because I was like, yeah, those are the 3 things. It makes total sense.
Man, so we had this on the books for last year.
Yeah.
And tackling forward facing and this, like, we were like, hey man, let's part of me wanted to do it. The other part was like, so dude, and this came through a lot of conversations with the anglers as well, right? Like we don't make these decisions really in a vacuum. I talked to a lot of anglers, and there were anglers on both sides of the fence about it, right? But there was a couple things that really bother me about the construct of the no information rule. One, and I mentioned in my article, was, man, we're taking the anglers out of the environment where sponsors and companies want them. You want them in tackle shops. You want them at the boat ramps. You don't want them to put their hood up and put a mask on and jump in their truck and drive off. Like,
which is literally what they're doing.
Dude, that's not an exaggeration. Like, right? Like, you know that. Like, and like you said, I think your fans know that. The second one was the only people that the information rule really hurt were the people who follow it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're hurting a rule follower, then what are we really doing here, man? You know what I mean? And here's something, Matt, that I have never heard anyone mention. When you start to look at the tournament itself, right? We're going to Harris Chain 15 to 21 March. If a guy gets information in January or is talking to somebody about, oh, I don't know, man, you should be throwing a black and blue Zoom Vibe-tail worm on Okeechobee or Harris Chain in Florida in the month of March. Does that have an impact on the outcome of the tournament? You know what I mean? Like, so when you're adjudicating these rules, and the other thing, we have to be the police of this, and it's impossible. Like, there's no way that I can police that rule. And dude, it's even hard in its current construct, but it's better. The major thing for us, Matt, was to make the polygraphs, the CSVs, the truth verification exam, and the voice stress test, to make them more poignant. I have a serious concern about the way this industry has evolved using polygraphs to be the police enforcer of the rules in professional bass fishing. I have serious concerns about it. I don't know how to fix it yet, but we're working on a few things. And the way we have our rule written, it makes it easier for those tests to be more relevant and accurate.
My unpopular opinion on this, and I've covered this since I was 21 years old, Brad, is you earn relationships in this sport. You develop relationships. You benefit from the time and energy that you've put into this. When I came in my first year fishing the Toyotas or fishing the Opens or that, I knew, hey, I'm coming in and I'm going to a body of water where guys have been to dozens of times before. It's my first time here. But as you're in it, as you develop those relationships, you show your viability, your truth, your honesty, you meet guys that are on different lakes. You're not buying anything, you're not bartering or exchanging, but you earn the right over time. And the veterans will agree with me. It is an unpopular opinion to say this out loud, but this is the truth. You earn the right to call up a buddy and say, hey, Jim, I'm headed to X Lake in a couple months. Anything I need to know about that? What's been going on out there? How is that? And you have earned the relationship with that guy who trusts you that you're not going to burn him by giving the spots or the areas or the information that he tells you to other. And then you're not bartering, you're not exchanging, but you also create value in yourself through your years, through your hard work, honing your craft on your fisheries, that your buddy who you vacation with their family and stuff, you can give them the general basics of what's going on and on that. That is something that is earned over time. That is something that the old school anglers have earned and that I think they should have. You had the young group of guys that came in over the last 4 or 5 years, and they're going, and I'm not going to name names. It's not all of them, but it's some. And they're going, well, these guys have been around for forever. They've been to this. They have their friends. I am just getting the same information, but I am paying for it. I'm bartering for it. I'm going out with a guide. How is that any different than what they're doing? It is drastically different because you haven't put your time in, you haven't put your stripes in, and you haven't earned that right. That is old school. You could disagree with it the way it is, but that is the way that I feel about that. If you're a schmuck who screwed a bunch of guys over, you ain't getting help. If you've gone about it in the right way, you've developed the relationship, you've put the thousands of miles and you've developed those, I think that is something in this industry that you should be able to be rewarded for.
Yeah, I think, and let me go back here. I know we're going way over what you and I both said we were going to do, yeah. But dude, that's another major component to the success or the perceived success of the Npfl is we just been around long enough to have great relationships, to develop those relationships. And people go, hey man, like I like those guys. Like I got to go sit down with Chris Baxter and Mr. Ed down at Zoom. Like we signed Zoom this year, man. Like that's like a big it's a big deal to me personally. Cause I like I told Chris and those guys, we went out to lunch and I said, man, when I was a kid, I'd grab a pack of trick worms, throw them in my back pocket, go my fishing rod on my bicycle, and I'd go pond hopping, right? Like Zoom has that kind of nostalgic kind of piece for me. But back to the no information rule thing is, man, if we have these things in fishing, and when I say them, you're going to know what I mean. They're what I label as altruistic beliefs. Like, it's just, I believe this to my core, and there's nothing anyone could do, say, or convince me otherwise. One is that it's hard to catch somebody else's fish.
Yep.
Matt, if I brought you to a lake here around the house and I was like, hey man, go here, this is where they are, this is what they do, you may be able to go catch a few, but for you to go catch them how I would catch them, it's probably not going to happen, man. Like I've done it. I don't know if you have. I've went and chased other people's fish, and dude, it's never worked out for me. Now, maybe that's because I'm not as good an angler as some of these guys. Like, I get that, but there's a legitimate thing about catching somebody else's fish. So if you believe that, like, and I do, that's an altruistic belief I have, and the NPFL has. If you believe that, hey man, who gives a shit? Turn them loose. Let them go get all the information they want. Mm-hmm. Here's a surprising thing. When I talked to anglers about this last year or throughout the year, just, at the boat ramp, they're tying up. Hey man, just
what do you think?
Have a chat with me about this. You know how many guys were like, do it, because
90%
guys will spin themselves into the ceiling chasing ghosts and chasing information, and they'll never go out and go fishing. Like, you're going to, dude, you're going to destroy people's year because all they're going to be worried about is information, and they're not going to go out and do what they need to do on the water. So yeah, have at it. No information rule is null and void in the NPFL. We didn't quite go that far, but I can see a day and a time that, based on how we talk to the anglers and what they say, like, I'm not ruling that out in the future of the NPFL. Mm-hmm. What are we doing here, man? And it's how it affects their professional lives. Like, guys going back to work on Monday and their coworkers saying, oh man, like, I watched you on live. Like, are you looking forward to the St. Lawrence? Yeah. And then, dude, that's where the conversation stops, because anything they get about St. Lawrence is going to be part of the no information rule. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I don't know. I like where we're going with it. I think it's got a long, long way to go. And look, man, I'll just tell you, like, I really wish the rest of the organizations would follow suit and just so it's all the same.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's the best rule. That's why we changed it. But I don't know. I'm sure they have reasons they're doing what they're doing. But I love it, and I'm really looking forward to operating under that rule this year.
Any other burning questions that you're just waiting for me to ask you, Brad, that I've left off the table?
I don't think so, man. We haven't talked field capacity and field size. Like, that's been a hot topic lately. Like, I think, because I made a statement about it. I'd like to look, man. It's revenue stream, expense line, meet on a graph chart. That's why we're at 130. I've been on the record saying I'd like a smaller field. I'd like to be at that 110 range, but the revenue we need to generate to operate is going to be in that 130 range. So we're going to run that for the foreseeable future. You haven't asked me about, when are we going to launch our qualifying series? But we're really focused on making the NPFL absolutely as good as it can be. And I just don't think we're there yet. I think we've got a very, very long way to go. We took on Fullcom this year. Like, you haven't asked many Fullcom questions. Holy crap, was that an absolute shit show in the beginning? It was a lot, man. Like, and I'm pretty savvy on a lot of that technology. Mm-hmm. We felt like we built a really good system in the off season. We built it in about 90 days. Did not perform at Santee Cooper, and guys like, well, the cell coverage, like, bro, we built it for crappy cell coverage. Like, if you're not doing that, then and dude, I'm very proud of the way that evolved over the 6 events into the championship, where sometimes I just watch it and I'm like, holy crap, man, like, this is really good. You know what I mean? Like, this is some of the intro videos, some of the stinger videos we put out there that Isaac did from, with Mike and those guys, was just freaking awesome. Like, it gave me chill bumps, you know what I mean, to watch it. And so it was cool. But yeah, other than that, Matt, I think you covered everything.
Do you have a Do you have a buck like picked out? I know you're in the tree stand this morning. Like, is there one that you've got dialed in that you're like hoping walked under the stand this morning?
Yeah, no, there's two actually on the farm, and we've had an EHD problem here in 2022, and then this year. And so I haven't had really good target bucks for the past couple of years. This year I have two, both of them are 10s. I had the one yesterday at 43 yards and could not get him in a position where I get a shot at him. He'll be the biggest deal I've ever killed if I can get an arrow in him. So yeah, man, I do all this crap all year because this is the time of year. So I messed up the buck yesterday morning and thought my day was really crappy. I come home, there was 2 inches of water in the garage. I've got a 60 by 40 shot attached to the house.
Oh no.
2 inches of water in there. I hear the water spraying in the back of the house. The hot water tank apex line ruptured.
I didn't even know that could happen.
It was around the shark bite. So I don't know if it got pinched or something like that, but it was, and we have a pressure booster on because we have crappy water pressure. We're way up on a hill.
Oh, that's a new fear unlocked for me now.
All my ammo, all my guns, all my hunting stuff, anything on the floor is ruined. So yeah, it got real fast when I come home and had to shut the water off. We still don't have water. We won't have water till tomorrow. But
are you still having fun doing this? I mean, it seems like I'll be honest. It seems like you're a guy who could get stressed out a little bit if you just look over the last couple of years. Are you enjoying this process personally?
I enjoy the challenge of it. I don't enjoy some of the people, to be very honest with you. I don't interact well. And dude, and listen, it's some of it's my background. Some of it's just how I was raised. I was very, like, it's well done. Like I say it all the time. Like my dad was a coal miner and the other side of the family were timber cutters. You know what I mean? Like both very dangerous, very stressful jobs. My family was very serious and they didn't put up with any nonsense. You know what I mean? And I think then in my time in special operations, I think, I have a low tolerance for disrespect, and I have a low tolerance for people who simply are there to passive aggressively poke the bear. So I don't like being poked. So, and I think it goes to knowing what we're missing in this industry to make it really, really good is accountability. And I think the other thing is consequences, right? Like, and this will bleed over into society, but if we live in a world with zero consequences in your daily life, Matt, that's chaos.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want to anyone and there's no consequences. That's what's wrong with social media, right? Like these guys get in on there and some of them aren't even on fake accounts, but they say things they would never say to you in person. And everybody acts like that's okay. I just don't think it's okay. Right. So it's, and listen, man, that's on me. Like that's something I have to work on and be more passive. But I'm never going to let anybody tear me or my family down or anyone that I care about, or I'm just not, it's not my DNA. Like I would have to quit being the president of the Npfl before I change that.
And you've written a little bit about it in the past. And I see, you've got a pretty impressive shadow box, American flags and things behind you. A lot of people know your past history in the military serving our country. And I would imagine that would give you quite a unique perspective as to first world problems and what really matters and what really is an issue and what is surface noise that people need to figure out themselves versus actual serious life things.
Well, we have conversations here with the field about empathy, right? Like I need, as the president, I need to have empathy for what the anglers go through in order to participate in the Npfl. The anglers have to have empathy for what it takes to pull off this magical show that we do with what we have. If you lose either one of those pieces of empathy, it gets disjointed, right?
It's usually symbiotic relationship. 100%. They need you, you need them. Both of you have to flourish.
And listen, if the Npfl staff starts pulling up in Lamborghinis and Ferraris and the anglers are still fishing for breadcrumbs, that's a problem, right? And conversely, if the staff is all sleeping in the Npfl weigh-in trailer and all the anglers are making, six figures up and down the chain, like that's a problem as well. You know what I mean? It's got to grow concurrently, and it's got to be right. And look, man, it's been well documented. We are focused on self-growth with each individual partner and each individual piece of the Npfl, because that's the way you make the sum of all your parts have to get bigger in order for you to be better. And your parts have to get better. I talked to Ken about it. I talked to Al about it. I talked to Paul about it. Like, we have to be better individually, or we're never going to get better as a group. And it's something that we're all passionate about, man. Like, at the end of the day, I want to win. Now, how you define that is hell, dude. I saw a comment on a video yesterday. Actually, it got sent to me that, and you'll get a kick out of this, because you guys gave us some, how could I say this? You gave us some love, but it was like, hey man, like, we're going to be watching, you know what I mean? Let's see how this works out. But dude, all the comments, I was looking at it. This organization won't exist in 2 years. This organization, I give them 2 years and the money runs out and they're gone. When we started, right? I saw a comment yesterday that said, in 10 years, this company will never even exist. I'm like, hey, dude, we just upgraded. We went from 2 years to 10 years. Like, hell, I hope we're here in 10 years. That'd be awesome. It means we're doing something right.
Well, you're definitely here next year in 2026, kicking things off in Florida in March, Wright Patman in April, Lay Lake in May, Logan Martin in June, the St. Lawrence River in July, Lake George, which I have fished, which a lot of people in the New York know about Lake George. The biggest issue on Lake George is going to be the state of New York getting all of those boats on the lake without having half of your field in quarantine. That is going to be your biggest nightmare up there, I'm sure. Have fun with that one in September, Brad. But the fishery up there, top 5 fishery in the country right now. Absolutely insane. Cannot wait to see how those guys tackle that fishery without live scope, mixed bag species, big fish, lots of fish, amazing, incredible Narnia type clear water, mountains around, tons of smallmouth, tons of largemouth, rock structure, petrified wood, suspended fish, humps, grass, everything you could possibly imagine on Earth. Lake George is going to absolutely show out for you guys in September. To close things out for the season.
I am more, yeah. If we can get everybody, like, we knew there were going to be some obstacles. Obviously, we've been talking to those guys up there, and we feel like we're putting together a pretty solid plan for next September. Like, think about it, dude. It's almost a year away. Like, yeah, I feel pretty confident in our ability to figure it out. And listen, man, if it's half as good as what people have told me it is, then it'll be worth all the ass pain we have to go through to make this happen. And it's going to be
a pain in the ass.
It's going to suck. But dude, we had to do the same thing at Del Rio. I don't know if guys know that. Like, we had to jump through a lot of hoops to be in a federal park and do all that stuff. So, it's just effort.
No. Well, dude, I greatly appreciate it. An hour and 20 minutes of your time, very open, and kind of concludes the trio of CEOs / presidents for BTL there. So you can go see what's happening across the entire industry, but can't thank you enough for your time on BTL, Brad.
No, man, you've always been very good to us and me specifically, Matt. So we appreciate it. And if you ever need anything, man, give me a shout. Would love to be calling your name as a boat number someday. So just keep it in mind.
It goes back to that entry fee, man. I do a podcast for a living. I gotta be.
Hey, just call Jeffries and have him write you a check, dude. Like,
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get enough just for the first 2, and then if I don't cash a check in it,
well, there you go. Like, hey, if I don't win one in the first 2, like, I'm sorry, but we're out. So two things real quick, Matt, before I get off here. One is we're getting ready to announce where the championship is going to be next year. That's going to be awesome. And the second thing is, for all your listeners, keep an eye out. We've got 2 major things working that we're trying to create more pathways for the fans to be able to be more closely tied to the company and the anglers. And we've got one of those pathways that it's going to happen, and our target date is January 1st. So for New Year's, we'll be giving everybody a nice Christmas and New Year's gift, hopefully.
Very cool. Get back in a tree stand.
All right, buddy. Thanks, Matt.
All right. See you. The one and only Brad Fuller, president of the NPFL. we will take our final break of the show and then be back to wrap things up. BTL on a Tuesday. We'll be back right after this.
I fish in some of the worst elements across the country. Spring, that's a giant, dude. Summer, oh my gosh. Hi, look at that thing. Winter, it's so cold. And fall, got a big one, that's awesome.
Being comfortable and staying dry is the only option.
AFCO, any fish, any water.
At Beat Down Outdoors, we know you depend on your gear to hold up in any condition. We built for that. We test for that. In fact, we pride ourselves in that. Because we know when the time comes to test your gear, you aren't going to take it easy, so we won't. We build premium, made-in-the-USA products that you can rely on in the moments when your equipment should be the last thing on your mind.
Your early morning mentality is your every hour mentality. All gas, no brakes. Focus, purpose, power. Destined for the water, but confident everywhere else. A calming buzz before the storm, truth of nature itself. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. There's a limit out there, but it's not with your gear. Unrelenting power delivery. Unparalleled weight savings. Keeping you on the water, whether you run a 9.9 or outscoping your best 5. In this rare air, there's power in the silence. It's a mindset, thinking only of the things that matter and freeing your mind from the things that you trust.
As a professional angler, there's only one thing that connects you to your paycheck. Probably the most crucial part to tournament bass fishing. I use Sunline because they have a line for every application. Shooter, FX2, All Might, super light line, big stuff, big sticks. Sunline has you covered.
Sharp as can be. Super strong, super durable.
Really good penetration.
Thinner and stronger.
Catch fish after fish.
I want to make sure that I'm using the best stuff possible.
World's finest hook.
World's finest hook.
Gamakatsu. World's finest hook.
Hey guys, Brian Schmidt here with Spro. I'm going to talk to you about the confidence I have in the equipment I use. You know, I have a charter boat business back home in Maryland. We fish for saltwater fish, and I also fish the Bassmasters Elite Series. So I keep my lights on by fishing. I have to have a lot of confidence in the equipment I use. Spro has me covered from head to toe, saltwater, freshwater, everything in between. A lot of high-end quality product. Spro has you covered.
All right, welcome back. Wrapping things up here on a Tuesday. Big thanks to Brad Fuller, Npfl president. You can check everything out there at the National Professional Fishing League.com, all one word, no spaces. All of his kind of blog posts or State of the Union addresses are up there. You can read, and they have them archived. We can go back and kind of get a feel of that. I mentioned it a couple times. We started out with over the past month and a half, we've had the CEO of Bass, Chase Anderson, of Major League Fishing, Boyd Duckett, and now the president of the Npfl, Brad Fuller, kind of a trio, a State of the Union addresses, for lack of a better term, with the three biggest guys and the three biggest organizations in the sport. So if you haven't listened to those other two and listened to the show today, would be worth going back and listen to those two. And then you kind of have a snapshot of the top level of professional bass fishing going into the 2026 season. I think we kind of know how everything is going to shape up. We have all the rules, we have all the formats, the fields are really shaping up. Obviously, Npfl's their application process just closed. They'll shortly announce what their field is, but that's all we got for today. Same time, same place tomorrow. We'll talk to everybody then. See ya.